Thanks, Justin. Thanks, everybody, for being here. I just wanted to express our thanks and congratulations to Joe Castiglione, to Pam Ken, to David Meller, and to Billy Weiss, four Red Sox icons who are going to be moving on, and we're all incredibly grateful for their contributions to our organization. In Joe's case, over 4 decades, true Hall of Famer, and we're very grateful for everything that those individuals have done, and we'll work hard to honor their legacy as we go forward. So thanks for that. And Billy, thank you very much. Appreciate it. Thank you. Sure, it was a lot of bright spots in this season. A lot of good things happened, but obviously fell short of where we expect to be as an organization. So I think the building blocks are there to get back to where we belong, and that's exactly what we intend to do this offseason.
Greg, it's hard to, I guess it's hard to call this season a success, but in terms of your framework and the way you view this organization progressing over the next 5-10 years, how important was this first season in your eyes?
Yeah, so, this is the time of year where we reflect on, kind of where the organization is and where it's going. And I think as we think about where we are, the bottom line, as Sam just said, is, we didn't reach our goal. Our goal every year should be to contend for a division title, to poise ourselves for a deep playoff run. And with that as the standard here, we fell short. There's no dancing around that. We need to be better. And that is not to say that there weren't things that should be reason for optimism, things that are really encouraging and exciting. We can point to the emergence of a number of position players that look to be cornerstones of, the next great run here. We can look to the emergence of 3 homegrown starters who, each made 30-plus starts and reached innings totals that they hadn't seen before. But at the end of the day, I think our fans have the expectation that we're going to compete for World Series championships. We share that expectation with them, and we fell short this year. Yeah, so I think there are a number of things that we've already started to do, behind the scenes in terms of building out, a front office that we believe is modern and positions us to make great decisions as it relates to player acquisitions and player development. Some shifts in philosophy that we think will, help build a pitching talent development pipeline that will feed our big league team. But I think the reality here, right, is that, we shouldn't have to look behind the scenes to determine progress or success. That should be readily demonstrated by the product that we put on the field at Fenway every day. And so we need to improve our defense, right? We can point to a defense that was, kind of bottom of the league, especially our infield defense. We had the second most blown saves in the league, so shoring up our bullpen. Obviously our lineup is pretty imbalanced in terms of being left-handed heavy. Figuring out how to balance that out, how to take advantage of, the short left field wall. We saw the effect of a guy like Tyler and 30-plus home runs, as a right-handed power hitter in the middle of the lineup. So I think the combination of, improving starting pitching depth, rebuilding the bullpen, we have some notable losses there, shoring up the defense and balancing out the lineup.
Sam, where does the team stand in terms of payroll? The past few years, you've talked about reducing payroll and kind of cutting back in some areas. Can you say that you'll be willing to spend more this upcoming year and this winter, and where things stand in that sense?
Yes, look, it's been a hallmark of this organization, 23 years, that we've been willing to invest into Major League payroll and into all aspects of the baseball operation. It's also been a hallmark that we don't talk publicly about what we plan to do with our payroll, not because we're trying to hide anything from the media or the fans. We just don't like to talk publicly about our payroll plans because we see it as a competitive advantage in the American League East, to not tip our hands to our competitors. That said, I can assure you that the feeling is that our fans have been through a lot. They've been patient, and it's time to get back where we belong. We thought we had a good shot at getting there this year, but it's time to get back and go for that division title, play baseball in the postseason. That's why we're here. That's literally why the three of us are here. There's nothing like October baseball, and that's our responsibility and our obligation to the best fans in baseball. We fell short of that this year, but we're going to work tirelessly to get us back where we belong in the American League East. That's our commitment, to do everything we can. And talk is cheap right now, words are hollow, but that's what we're gonna work on this offseason.
Sam, you say do everything you can. Do you have an expectation or a hope that the payroll will be higher than it was this year?
I don't know where the payroll is going to land. I know that we're going to be focused on win totals and getting into that postseason. You can't mess around in 83, 84, or 85 wins. That's not where you want to be. You want to win the division, get in, be in a position where you're sitting in a bye position and lining up who's going to be starting game one of the next series. That's where we want to be.
Sam, speaking of fans, it's been 3 years since you made the playoffs. Where will ticket prices be next year?
So ticket prices now, Pete, are set throughout the course of the year. And it's dynamic pricing. So ticket prices go up during the year, they go down, and they change based upon demand. So I can't tell you overall where ticket prices will be for 2025. I can tell you that if you looked where we were in 2023 to 2024, now that the 24 season is over, on average, overall, the ticket price increase was 1.7% for this year, for 2024. I can't tell you where we're going to be for 2025 until after the season, because prices change throughout the course of the year.
So you set certain levels for certain?
We do, yes. We set certain levels for some portion of our tickets that are season tickets. Some categories there will stay flat, some will go up, and we'll see where that average number ends up. But I can tell you, as a season ticket holder, on average, you're getting about 15 to 20% off of what an individual game buyer purchases.
What's the status of the coaching staff?
Yeah, so, the kind of evaluation process is ongoing. Alex and I are beginning those conversations, and we'll continue to have them. So nothing to announce right now outside of, we feel like in the same way that in the office or on the field, we need to do everything we possibly can to position ourselves to be the best team that we can. We'll do the same thing for our staff and announce anything when it is appropriate.
Alex, I'm curious, each of your seasons in Boston has come with its own unique challenges. This season is even more unique. It felt like at the All-Star break, you were playoff contenders, and all of a sudden that started to dissipate. What have you learned as a coach and as a manager from this season in particular?
What I learned in 2019, every season is different, right? We were great in 18, we were okay in 19, 21 was awesome, right? And the last few years have been a struggle, right? And I learned a lot, just dealing with a young roster. The player development thing doesn't stop in AAA. We can do it here, and I think as a group, from top to bottom, we did an outstanding job helping these kids to be better, and you saw the results. Obviously, we fell short, right? But at the end, you start, looking at it piece by piece, right? And there's a lot of success stories. Others not so great, but we learn from those ones for that one, and we should be better in the off season attacking those things.
And forgive me if you guys have addressed this before, but the status on Henry Jansen, unrestricted free agent, do we know any of why he left the team, or is there any more that you can give us?
Yeah, I talked about it yesterday. Yeah, well, I had a conversation with Kenley as soon as we were done. I told him, he was free to go, go home, and it was a manager's decision.
Sam, when you look back and reflect, do you feel like ownership did enough for this team on the field over the last year? Did it enough?
No, we're not there. That's on us. I mean, you can phrase it any way you want, but when you fall short of your expectations, you can always do more. And we feel that obligation and that responsibility each and every year. There was a feeling this year, particularly yesterday in the ballpark. It was like, we don't want this to end. This has been, in a lot of ways, a season where sort of what could have been. And so we need to do more. We need to be better in every aspect, within our ownership group, within the front office. And we're not here to be having press conferences on September 30th or October 1st. We're here to be talking about postseason play, and that's where we got to get back to.
A year ago at this time, we were told there was going to be a full throttle offseason. That didn't happen. Why should we believe you now? Why should fans believe you now? We sort of say the same thing.
Look, I think our job is to walk the walk and do all the right things from a baseball perspective that position us to be good for the long term. We fell short, and so we'll have to let our actions speak louder than our words. And that's always true. That's always been true. Things have worked out pretty well here when we've had success on the field, and we feel that burning urgency to get back to postseason play.
Can you say FSG plans on bidding on the Celtics?
Yeah, I don't see it to be appropriate to talk about the Celtics today, other than to say congrats on another world championship. But that's not on our radar right now.
Alex, piensa que los aficionados después de 3 años de no ver postemporada, sobre todo lo positivo que salió de esto y lo que hay que ver para el
Go ahead.
Sí, me llamo Sam.
No, un año de altas y bajas, pero creo que estamos en una muy buena posición entrando a lo que es el off-season para trabajar de la manera correcta, para tener un producto de calidad en el terreno de juego. 81 juegos ganados no es suficiente, y no es suficiente para entrar a octubre, y aquí la meta no es entrar a octubre nada más, es ganar la división y obviamente ganar la Serie Mundial. Muchas historias buenas, como dije antes, muchas cosas positivas, de las negativas aprendemos, estamos destacando la temporada muerta de la manera correcta. Hay muchos planes ya corriendo, obviamente seguirle el paso de los muchachos, seguir ayudándolos y estar listos para cuando lleguemos en febrero a Fort Myers, darle ese paso adelante y ganar la división.
Could you talk about I think I heard you mention the depth of pitching, the rotation. What about the high-end part of that? Do you feel you have the guys here? Is that part of maybe acquiring someone? Where do you sit there?
Yeah, I think we are very open to improving our rotation and our bullpen through a number of paths. We intend to be aggressive in exploring all of those, to act decisively when opportunities present themselves. I think we would benefit from both. I'm sure at some point there will be a question about potentially the reasons for struggles in the second half, and I do think overall organizational depth is something that we can point to as an area that needs to be strengthened, so that in the second half, as inevitably guys get hurt or performance regresses, we have capable players who can step in and make that transition seamlessly. And at the same time, everyone, every team in baseball is well served by having someone at the front of the rotation that can win a game when the team needs it, can win a playoff game. I think, fortunately, we saw a number of guys in the rotation this year take a step forward. I don't want to devalue the job that guys like Tanner and Brian and Cutter and others did. But at the same time, we need to get better, and we need to be open to any opportunity to do that.
Yeah.
Fred, you talked about balancing the roster. That would seem to indicate you might make some trades. Is there anybody on the roster that you wouldn't consider trading?
I think at this point, everything has to be on the table. I think to position ourselves otherwise could potentially, eliminate a possibility. Now, the reality is, oftentimes values don't match up where it makes sense to, trade someone that we believe is going to be a superstar here for a really long time. But I think to approach a conversation and take people off the table just doesn't make sense given our need to improve the product on the field.
Sam, you said something that was, sorry, John. You said something that was interesting to me. You said yesterday it felt like you didn't want to tank. And for my generation of Red Sox fans, being brought up through 04, 7, 13, it did kind of feel like this was the closing of a chapter. From the people around me, I guess the question that we have in our generation is, how do you develop the next generation of Red Sox fans? How do you give them something to believe in and to hope in when they haven't seen 04? They haven't seen us?
Yeah, it's a great question. One of the most important things we do is provide accessibility to Fenway Park for young people. Probably everybody in this room fell in love with baseball because of our ability to either go to a major league park or a minor league park. So accessibility to Fenway Park is massively important to us. We think about it each and every day. And then you get to come in and you experience the magic of this place, and you also experience the core group that we have, players like Jaron Duran and Willie Abreu, and seeing Trevor Story come back, and Rafi night in and night out. The building blocks of that next great Red Sox team, we hope are there and in place. And we also, I would tell that next generation that we have the right group in leadership in our baseball operation. We've got Brez and AC committed here for the long term, and that's a really good thing for Red Sox fans.
Sam, even when you were spending more freely and getting better results on the field, John made it quite well known that he did not, with few exceptions, believe in investing in free agent starting pitchers in their 30s because of the risk involved. Given that and the fact that most free agents are 30 or close to it, is it more likely that Craig's directive is to address that need for an ace through a trade?
I think it's more likely that every avenue will be explored, and this ownership group has taken a lot of heat, probably deservedly so, because we haven't been where we need to be the last couple years. I can tell you this ownership group feels urgency and a hunger to explore every avenue, as Brez said, to improve and build upon this team to get back into the postseason.
If I can just jump in, given I've now been here for close to a year, I would say at no point did I get a directive from ownership about a baseball operation decision. I feel like as the chief baseball officer, ultimately I am accountable for baseball decisions, and so if we feel like there's an opportunity to improve the team via a certain pathway, I feel very confident that not only will we have the resources, but also the endorsement from ownership.
Alex and Craig, you guys talked all year, and even Alex last year, it's about the defense and needing to get better, and obviously all the work you put in. But do you feel, outside of Story, there is a personnel issue? How do you feel like you can address, not having the worst defense in baseball heading into next year?
Yeah, so I think I think we have to look at all aspects of development and include personnel, right? There are certain limitations to players that are difficult to work around, but at the same time, I think we've seen Alex's ability to be creative and to try to, find the right opportunities and the right matchups to allow players to be successful, including defensive replacements and moving, infielders into the outfield, outfielders into the infield, and I do think you had mentioned it, but when we lose our best defender for a majority of the season, that's a difficult obstacle to overcome. But there's no question that we can get better and we need to get better, and I think another place that we'll look and we've started to talk about are the training environments that we create every day.
Have there been any, or will there be discussions about possibly potentially moving Rafi up to third base?
We have not had those conversations. Those conversations, if they were to occur, will definitely happen internally, before I discuss them here. But like I said, where our heads are right now, are focused on the offseason and every possible opportunity to improve the team.
Craig, realizing that there's a lot of work to be done on the roster this winter, but as you sit here today, would you anticipate that any of the so-called Big Four can go in and win opening day roster spots in spring training?
You know, it's a difficult question to answer on, you know, September 30th. We are very excited by the seasons that, you know, those four and many others have had. You know, I think we can add some other really exciting players to that group, whether we talk about, you know, Franklin Arias or others. And I think that's a credit to you know, a PD system that you know, is, in my opinion, best in class. I don't think it's a coincidence that, you know, year after year we have position players like the ones that we're talking about emerging. Now, as it relates to their ability to contribute at the big league level, you know, our hope is that they're ready to step in, you know, early next year. But at the same time, if not, and if it's because we feel like we've got you know, alternatives that give us a better chance of winning, that's a great place to be as well, right? You know, I think we'll have tough decisions as it relates to the roster, and hopefully those get even tougher every, you know, February or March as we think about taking the best 26 guys north that we can.
Right, how do you look at, like, if someone are a chance to impact the club right away next year, how much are they impacting some of the decisions you're making this offseason, whether that's in the sense that they could make the team out of camp, or if there's reasons to, you know, pull from a pretty deep prospect right now and try to improve the team?
Yeah, you know, there's a difficult balance to strike here, always having, you know, one eye on the short term, one eye on the long term. However, you know, my hope is that the message that we're providing today is pretty unified and pretty clear, that it's time to deliver, you know, the team that is capable of winning the AL East, of making a deep playoff run. And if that means that guys who haven't yet made their big league debuts need to be on the team to help us do that, then we have to be prepared for that. And if it means that we have to be aggressive in bringing, you know, players in who aren't currently with the organization to complement those who are, we have to be open to doing that as well.
Sam, we've been a lot of talk about some of the successes this year and step forward and all that type of stuff. When you look at, you know, 5 games back in the wild card, 13 in the division, 9th in the American League, like American League, I mean, have the goalposts moved on one of the successful seasons this year?
No, they haven't. Nope.
What is the successful season to you in the Red Sox right now?
Playing baseball in October.
You guys, any medical procedures for any players? I know that there was you talked about your sheet yesterday, but anything coming up?
No, Masa will have an appointment later this week. Nothing to report right now. But, you know, those guys who have had surgeries, recovering from surgeries, their timelines are very much within expectations of what was set out for by the medical staff.
Alex, what are your medical for the team kind of going into the offseason, going into next season? You know, how you guys can.
I mean, we've been talking to the players, and we've been talking about physicality, right? I mean, this is a good time for us to address that. You know, just felt like, you know, September has been a challenge for us the last few years. Is it physical, mental, or whatever? You know, we'll take a look at it. But I think the message is loud and clear. You know, you see Jarren Duran playing 160 games. You know, he's very physical, and we need to do that. Rafaela, you know, he played 150 games at 120 pounds. No, but we want him to eat and then get stronger. You know, because it's very important. And I think. You know, you guys asked me about Jarren the other day. Are we going to do this again? Probably not, right? I mean, I think the correct thing to do is to give him some rest, you know, and I think he finished strong. But, you know, just him doing what he did, it showed the whole clubhouse and obviously the kids in the minor leagues that it's possible, you know, but you got to attack the offseason the right way. And, you know, that's what we're talking about. Plans and all that stuff, it's going to be in November, your swings and pitch shapes and all that. But in the beginning, attack the gym the right way, get stronger, get faster, get moving, and I think that's going to help us.
Alex, just how much of that emphasis is on the bullpen now? You talked about Kalani and Ron, those guys to be stronger, be monsters in the offseason. That's obviously a group that, especially the back end, probably going to look very different next week.
Yeah, I mean, take a look at around the league, right? And the best bullpens, they got horses out there. You know, they're freaking big and strong, and they sustain the season. You know, you look at Cleveland, right? All those guys, they have, 60-something appearances, and they were really, really good. And you look at them, you know, they look the part, you know. I'm not saying our guys are weak, whatever, but, you know, like Slayton, he can be stronger, you know, and he had a great season. Same thing as Zach Kelly, right? The stuff is great. How are we going to be consistent 3 times a week instead of being consistent 2, right? And then you struggle. So that's the message. And I think, this season we saw it after LA. We struggle. And that's one of the things that we talk about it as a group. And hopefully the guys execute the plan in the offseason and they're ready to go next year.
Greg, you have 6 position players in the top 100 in baseball rankings, but no pitchers. How do you feel like the development of the pitching development is on for 1 year?
Sure. So I think we're in a significantly better place than we were, at the time that I took over here. There's an increased emphasis on pitching development. I think Justin Willard's done a great job. I think Andrew Bailey's done a great job. I think a bunch of our minor league staff has done a really good job, especially working with strength and conditioning, working with our medical staff to ensure that we're building bigger engines. We're going to see in the next few days that typically starting pitching in the postseason, definitely bullpens in the postseason, they've got swing and miss stuff, and so just really pushing the development of fastball velocity, of quality shapes, the ability to generate swings and misses in the strike zone. We can point to some guys who have come up, throughout this season and impacted our club in a really positive way, whether that's Guerrero or Fitz or Priest or Slayton is a guy who wasn't with the organization last year at this time, and say, I think we're on the right track, but we've got plenty of work to do.
Yeah, following up on that, Craig, you mentioned early on forthcoming changes and maybe infrastructure, philosophy in pitching. This sort of building on what you already started, are you seeing things that maybe you need to revamp a little bit developmentally?
Yeah, no, I think it's continuing to build momentum toward this idea of, in the minor leagues, we need to build out stuff. We need to get guys who can dominate games, and 1 year into this, I think we're in a better place. But like I said, it's a fairly long road. But I think even thinking back to the draft this last July and 14 pitchers drafted, to give our development system some raw ingredients to work with, and I think Andrew and Walk and Devin, the rest of the pitching group in the big leagues, they deserve a ton of credit. The starting rotation this year, by ERA was a top 10 rotation, right? And it was largely the same guys as last year. But we need to make sure that there's this steady influx of talent so that as, Pavetta or Bayo ended up on the IL, we feel very comfortable with guys in AAA and their ability to step in, to the point that they have made compelling cases that they maybe should already be in the big leagues.
One more quick. A few of the teams that have been very good at building velo and stuff in the minors have had a lot of guys go down. How can you approach keeping guys healthy while doing that?
Yeah, so unfortunately, injuries have become a part of pitching development, and I think development doesn't come without risk. We have to be honest about that. We have to present those risks to our players, and I think there are a number of avenues to explore that. We recently hired a new biomechanist who's got an extensive background in injury prevention, injury rehabilitation. I think getting the strength and conditioning group, medical group, and pitching group together and aligned on what we're trying to accomplish is a really good step toward that. But ultimately, the team that figures out how to prevent injuries is going to lap the rest of the field. I'm not sure that that's going to happen in our lifetimes, and I think instead we just have to ensure that we've got enough depth that we're honest about the risks, and players are kind of voluntarily taking on these initiatives.
Alex, obviously this is a great job being here, and you would have probably had options. You would have had options if you had decided to leave, and for a while it appeared like that was an option. Not a year ago, I'm even going a couple of months ago. What was the disconnect, and how did you get to where you're back seemingly all in with what's going on right now?
I was all in the whole time, but, obviously my contract was up, and out of respect to the organization and to Craig, I didn't want to talk about it, right? And then we decided to talk about it, It gained momentum in a week, and, like I said, and they know it, the number one team in my life, we wanted to be here. We love it here. And, we took care of my team, the Cora Felicianos, and, of course, the promise of winning, pushed me. I think that's the most important thing. I do believe we're in a good place. I knew we were in a good place when the season started. Well, I'm not going to show my hand, right? I mean, it's a business too, kid. But I think where we going is going to be fun. And I've been saying it all along the last 2 weeks, the people are here most of the time. I truly believe this is the last struggle, to be honest with you. I think this is it, And there were some positives, there was a lot of negatives, but I think where we're going as an organization, it's going to be fun again. It's going to be fun again. And it starts this off season, and we're going to work so hard. We're going to work very hard together to shoot for. It's the division. We're not talking about playoffs. Like let's like Chris said. I mean, the wild card. Yeah, it's great. Yeah, it's part of the tournament. But no, we're shooting for the division. I think we're going to be capable starting next year.
Right, a lot of times executives talk about the franchise of the organization needing to be in a good spot to be aggressive in the offseason. In other words, you need the farm system, you need the controllable guys and everything else. Do you feel like, compared to a year ago, that you are in a much better position to make these aggressive moves that we're talking about?
I do. I can remember back at my introductory press conference talking about achieving this standard of quality and consistency that would enable us to vie for World Series championships year over year. And, we asked our fans to sacrifice a lot, to be patient as we built the foundation that would enable us to reach those goals. I think we're here. I think we're ready to deliver. I think we feel really optimistic about the position player group that we have currently in the big leagues, about the steps forward from the rotation. I think there is absolutely work to do, but those cornerstone pieces are in place. And beyond that, a lot of the work that had been done in the front office, a lot of the work that had been done in the minor leagues was done with an eye on ensuring that this isn't just kind of a 1 or 2 year flash in the pan type thing, but this is an opportunity to be at the top of the division, at the top of the league for multiple years here.
Craig, you have now a month before free agency, the hot stove gets going. Is hiring a GM going to be at the top of the to-do list in the next few weeks?
It's hard to say top of the list. It's certainly something that I'll shift some attention to. I've got a better understanding of our front office landscape, of my needs and experiences, and also inexperiences and blind spots. At the same time, we've all been quite busy with the season in front of us, and wanted to make sure that we gave that our due attention. So wouldn't want to put a timeline on it, but it's something that I anticipate picking up soon.
Do you hope you have the person in place by opening day at least, or end of the year?
I hope, and I'm confident that I will find the absolute right person to help us accomplish what we're trying to accomplish. I think beyond that, trying to put a deadline on it is really difficult, and wouldn't want to back myself or the organization into a corner in doing so.
Internal and external options on the table for that?
Yeah. In the same way that we talk about the best way to kind of build the most complete roster would be to be open to every path and every possibility. I think the same is true for how we staff out our office.
Right, yeah. Tyler and also there was a meeting between you guys yesterday. There was some mutual interest. How much of a priority is that in that is the mutual interest?
Yeah, so I tried to meet with as many players as I possibly could, and specifically targeting some of our impending free agents. We saw what Tyler was capable of doing when he was on the field, and definitely a credit to Tyler, to our coaching staff, to our medical staff, that he was able to be on the field for as much as he was this year, whether it's Tyler or someone else. Replacing that type of production in the middle of the lineup is going to be a priority, and we'll obviously have to see how this process plays out, but I anticipate that we'll be in communication. He's earned the right to get to free agency, but I think the right-handed power hitter that can pop 30 and change a game with one swing is definitely a pretty desirable asset here.
Right, when you first joined, you mentioned that you wanted to make the lineup a little bit more balanced. Why was it so difficult this year beyond time?
Well, I think we can point to a couple of instances, whether that's Trevor getting hurt, Vaughn getting hurt, And then at the same time, there were a number of left-handed hitters that emerged as guys that we wanted in the lineup every day. And, I think we want to run out, the best lineup we possibly can. And, Alex and I talk all the time about, how we avoid being susceptible to, left-handed pitching or, left-handed relievers. And doing so means balancing it out. But, if Trevor and Vaughn, had the seasons that we believe that they're capable of having, then the lineup probably does look a little bit different. That said, it doesn't change the fact that our lineup is predominantly left-handed, and a number of the players in the upper levels of the minor leagues that we think will be impacting the team at some point here in the future are also left-handed.
On the subject of Vaughn, you mentioned when you first got him that he was penciled in at second base. Obviously, you got the injuries, et cetera, et cetera. How do you view him moving forward to next year?
Yeah, obviously this was a tough year for Vaughn on the field. He will be the first to acknowledge that. I also think it was a pretty invaluable development and growth year for him. We identified some targeted work that he really embraced, and collectively, I think we moved the ball forward, and then we saw, in late September, in just a small sample, but the player that I think he's capable of being. Now, he knows that it's going to be performance on the field that dictates who gets the reps at second base, and that's a fine spot to be.
Frank, you said just a couple of weeks after being hired that your preference was to have players rotate through the DH spot. That obviously didn't happen when Yoshida was in there. He was the DH almost every day. If he's back and healthy, do you envision that same scenario again, or do you want to get back to that philosophy of mixing guys? And does a healthier Yoshida have a role in the outfield?
Yeah, I mean, without kind of speaking too far into the future here, I think we have to figure out how the roster comes together. I don't think it makes sense to be constrained by anything at this point. And him being able to get out there and and play in the outfield just gives Alex more flexibility. But obviously we'll kind of see where the health is, and we'll figure out the best way for him to impact our team.
I understand. Last year there were discussions with several players about extensions. You signed some players to extensions. Is that something that you are open to doing this offseason? And have you already had kind of discussions?
Sure. I think, identifying young players who have a chance to thrive here in this market, and extending them, keeping them here for, a bulk of their careers, for the entirety of their careers, should be, part of the strategy of building a consistent winner. So, I think we'll continue to explore those opportunities.
Frank, do you have any update on guys like Meyer, Montgomery, what kind of spending the season trying to get back and stuff?
By all accounts, guys, will be healthy. We don't see anything that anyone is going through right now as having longer-term implications. I know Braden is swinging at this point. Marcelo is feeling good. Some unfortunate injuries, of course, but shouldn't have any type of long-term consequences on the types of careers that we believe they can have.
Alex and Craig, where do you guys feel the leadership among players is at in the locker room? You have this amazing young core coming up. Do you feel like you have the voices in that room next year to make sure that everybody's on the same page?
I do believe so. I think with Jaron and Rafi, of course, leading the way with the position players. Pitching-wise, those 30 starts that those three guys have now under the belt, it gives them a voice in that clubhouse, and I think we're in a good place.
And there were a few players from the 04 team that kind of voiced disappointment about not having more 2004 related things throughout the season. I'm curious kind of what the planning and the idea behind any 2004 things was going into this year.
Well, I felt that we had a lot of 2004 celebrations, actually. In fact, I heard some noise that maybe we were overdoing it and living in the past. So I guess it's in the eye of the beholder. Look, what makes the Red Sox so great is that history and tradition. There is a Netflix show coming out shortly around the 2003-2004 season that will give everyone a lot of visibility and great memories from an amazing era. But one of the things that we've committed to is we're going to continue to look forward. We're hungry for more championships, and we've all been around here a long, long time now, and it's time for that feeling, that vibe to come back to this clubhouse. And so we're focused on the future, not looking in the past.
Sam, you mentioned Joe Castiglione in the beginning. Kind of what's the process in terms of naming the next radio voice? And is that the team's decision solely, or?
Yes, yeah, it's the team's decision, and we're looking forward to having those discussions. Obviously, Will Fleming has done a great job. We've already begun those discussions with him and others.
Sam, you talk about looking forward. As you look forward, how concerned are you about the state of the brand? You know, since 19, missed the playoffs every year except one. Interest isn't as rapid as it was. How concerned are you about the brand?
Look, if we do the right things in our baseball operations efforts each and every day, the rest will take care of itself. I really believe that. You've seen we had an amazing crowd over the weekend. It's just indicative of the best fans in all of baseball. They support us through thick and thin. And you mentioned it. We haven't had a deep postseason run since 2021. Haven't won the ultimate prize since 2018. So we're hungry and focused. But if we do the right things from a baseball ops perspective, we're going to get where we need to go. And in terms of everything else, it all takes care of itself.
Any last questions for the group? All right.
We're good?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys.